The spaceport of Archon 9 was massive, stretching for miles into the orbit of its purple gas giant. Ships of every size and color glided in and out, their engines leaving glowing trails in the void. Aliens of countless shapes and forms moved between docking bays, trading, chatting, and laughing. Among them, humans were a rare sight, and not one that inspired respect. Ethan walked through the crowded terminal, his boots clicking against the metallic floor. He kept his head low, carrying a small toolkit and a metal case with tools and parts. His ship, a tiny patchwork craft, waited for him in Dock 17. It wasn't the fastest nor the most advanced, but it had something he believed in. It had survived more scrapes than he could count. The aliens around him didn't share his belief. A group of tall, blue-scaled traders stopped near him, snickering as they pointed at his ship. "Look at that human craft," one of them hissed in a sharp, rattling voice. "Does it even fly or does it crawl?" Another joined in, holding a shiny, transparent device. "It's made of scrap, parts from older ships. Pathetic. I've seen better built by apprentices in a week." Ethan ignored them, focusing on his tools. He had learned long ago that arguing with aliens like this was pointless. Words were cheap, skill was not. He arrived at his ship, a small gray vessel with visible weld marks and patched panels. Its thrusters looked fragile compared to the gleaming ships around it. But Ethan loved it. It had carried him through asteroid storms, black hole skims, and pirate attacks. It was small, yes, but it was his. As he opened the access panel under the cockpit, a small maintenance drone hovered nearby. Its sensors blinked as it prepared to assist him in diagnostics. "All right, little buddy," Ethan muttered, attaching a small scanner to the drone. "Let's see what you've got." The drone hummed and began inspecting the ship. Everything seemed normal until a tiny spark ignited near one of its arms. The drone let out a high-pitched squeal and a panel popped open, scattering metal fragments across the floor. Ethan froze. He had seen drones break before, but something in him acted faster than thought. Without hesitation, he leaned down, picked up a sharp fragment, and bit it. The metal was cold, heavy, and strange, but it wasn't painful. Instead, it seemed to settle in his stomach, disappearing like water swallowed by a desert. He blinked, surprised, then continued as the aliens around him gasped. You ate it?" hissed one of the blue-scaled traders, his voice trembling. "Humans don't do that." Ethan shrugged, wiping his hands. "I do what I need to survive." The traders backed away, fear mingling with disbelief. A crowd had begun to form, curious beings stopping to watch this human consume a piece of solid metal as if it were bread. Whispers rippled through the spaceport. "Impossible. Humans can't do that." "He's eating metal." Ethan ignored the murmurs. He had bigger concerns. The drone, now missing an arm, lay in pieces. He needed to fix it quickly before the Galactic Council inspectors arrived. A tall, green-skinned alien approached, holding a clipboard. She had multiple eyes stacked along her face, each blinking in different rhythms. "Human," she said, her voice sharp but controlled. "What are you doing here?" "This area is restricted for Council-approved technology. Your metal consumption is highly irregular. We may need to detain you for testing." Ethan straightened, meeting her gaze calmly. "I didn't come here to make trouble. I was fixing my ship. If you have questions, I can answer them, after I make sure my drone isn't broken beyond repair." The alien's eyes narrowed. "Unusual. Very unusual. We have never seen a human capable of metabolizing metal." Ethan shrugged again, a small smirk on his face. "It's not a problem. It's just me." The alien seemed both fascinated and irritated. "Come with us," she said finally, waving toward a hovering transport. "The Council wants to study this. We cannot risk misunderstanding your abilities." Ethan hesitated. Leaving his ship and tools could be risky, but curiosity was stronger than caution, even for him. He followed, knowing that resisting might create more trouble than he wanted. As he walked, whispers followed him. Aliens pointed and muttered, some with fear, some with admiration. Even the traders who had mocked him earlier seemed unsure whether to laugh or run. "Is he really human?" one asked in disbelief. How can he do that?" "Maybe humans aren't weak after all," another muttered. "Maybe they're different." Ethan listened, feeling a mixture of pride and caution. This was the first time he had been truly noticed across the galaxy, not for wealth or technology, but for something that made him unique. The council chambers were enormous, floating above the main spaceport like a crystal dome. Ethan was led inside where dozens of aliens sat in rows, each observing him. The walls were made of transparent energy panels showing ships landing, stars spinning, and comets streaking by. A silver-skinned counselor stepped forward. Her voice echoed in the chamber. "Human," she said, "you have astonished us. The galaxy has long mocked your species as weak, limited, and fragile. Yet here you are, consuming metal as if it were food. Explain yourself." Ethan looked around. Hundreds of eyes, shapes, and colors stared at him. He knew that words would not suffice. Action spoke louder. "I don't know why I can do it," he admitted honestly. "I just can. I've always eaten metal when I needed it to survive. I've never thought it was special. I just adapt." A murmur went through the chamber. Aliens exchanged looks of surprise and disbelief. Some whispered, "This changes everything," while others frowned, uneasy at the possibility of a species they had underestimated. A counselor with multiple tentacles leaned forward. "Adaptation is one thing," she said, "but your ability, could this mean humans are capable of far more than we have believed? Could this advantage upset the balance of power in the galaxy?" Ethan didn't answer. He simply looked at them and said, "I survive. If that changes your view, so be it. I didn't come here to fight. I came here to live. Like everyone else." The room went silent. Then a small mechanical bell rang. The counselors conferred quietly. Whispers of dangerous, remarkable, and must be controlled filled the air. Outside the chamber, the crowd that had gathered cheered softly. Aliens who had mocked him earlier now watched with awe. A human could eat metal and they could not explain it. For the first time in centuries, humans were not laughed at. They were feared, respected, and interesting. Ethan felt a strange mix of pride and apprehension. He was just a simple human trying to survive, yet the galaxy was beginning to see him as something else entirely, something more. As the council deliberated, a shadowy figure watched from the back. Cloaked in dark energy, its form shifting, it whispered to itself, "So, this is the human. Interesting. Very interesting." Ethan had no idea that his simple ability to eat metal was only the beginning. Soon the galaxy would see that humans were not just survivors. They were forces to be reckoned with. And some were not ready for it. The council doors closed. Ethan was left standing, unsure of what would happen next, but certain of one thing. His life and the galaxy itself would never be the same. The chambers of the Galactic Council buzzed with whispers long after Ethan had been left alone in the observation room. Holographic screens displayed schematics of ships, metal compositions, and biological data, all highlighting one impossible truth. A human could metabolize metal. Ethan sat on a small bench, watching the stars swirl through the transparent dome above him. His stomach still tingled from the shard of metal he had eaten earlier. It wasn't uncomfortable, but it left a strange warmth, almost like energy pulsing inside him. He had never felt anything like it before. A soft chime announced the arrival of a visitor. The room's door slid open and a young alien scientist floated in. Her skin shimmered a light gold and her 4 eyes blinked rapidly in curiosity. "Human," she said, her voice melodic but cautious. "I am Lyra, a biologist for the council. I want to understand you." Ethan nodded slowly. "I don't really understand myself. I just know that when I eat metal, it gives me energy. I've always been able to do it." Lyra's eyes widened. "Energy? Do you mean physical strength, stamina, or something else?" "I don't know exactly," Ethan admitted. "Sometimes it just feels like I can do more. Run longer, lift heavier, think faster." Lyra floated closer, her hands trembling as she reached out to examine him. "May I observe you?" Ethan hesitated. Humans were often used as experiments by alien scientists, but Lyra didn't seem threatening. Her curiosity was gentle, not greedy. He nodded. "Fine, but don't try anything dangerous." The observation began. Ethan was given various metals, small scraps of titanium, copper wires, and even a piece of an old starship hull. One by one, he picked them up and consumed them. Lyra recorded everything, her eyes widening at each swallow. "Fascinating," she whispered. "The molecular breakdown is instant. Your stomach converts it directly into bioenergy. This is beyond anything we've ever seen." Ethan shrugged. "Like I said, just how I survive." News of Ethan's abilities spread across the spaceport and beyond. By the time he finished the observation, Aliens from other ships had gathered, whispering, pointing, and watching. Traders who had mocked humans before now looked at him with uncertainty, some even hiding in fear. One of them, a tall alien with 6 arms, muttered under his breath, "Could this mean humans are not weak? Could they actually fight us?" Ethan ignored them. His focus was on understanding his power, not impressing the crowd. But deep down he felt a flicker of pride. Finally, the galaxy was noticing humans for something more than their mistakes, their small ships or their fragile bodies. Later, Lyra led him to a more secure lab. The room was filled with tools, scanners, and glowing monitors. She handed him a strange piece of metal that hummed faintly. "This is a rare alloy," she explained. "It is nearly indestructible. We want to see how your metabolism handles it." Ethan held it in his hands, feeling its unusual weight and faint vibration. He looked at Lyra. "You sure about this?" She nodded. "We need to understand your limits. If humans are going to survive in the galaxy, we must know how powerful they can be." Ethan took a deep breath and bit down. The alloy was tough, but it went down surprisingly easily. The warmth in his stomach spread quickly and a surge of energy raced through him. He flexed his muscles, feeling stronger, faster, and sharper than ever before. Lyra's eyes were wide with amazement. This is incredible. You are absorbing not just energy, but structural integrity. You could withstand forces that would crush a normal alien." Ethan blinked. "I didn't know it did that." Outside the lab, the Council's advisors debated furiously. "If humans can metabolize metal like this, they could become unstoppable," one said. "Our fleets are weapons, all useless against them if they reach their full potential." Another argued, "We cannot assume all humans are like this, but we must be cautious. This one, he is a living weapon, whether he wants to be or not." Meanwhile, news reached the far corners of the galaxy. Merchants, soldiers, and spies all whispered about the human who could eat metal. Some saw opportunity, some saw threat. Ethan, unaware of the growing reputation, spent his time testing his limits. He discovered that metals could fuel not just his strength but his mind. Complex calculations, memory, and focus became sharper when he had absorbed certain alloys. He could repair ships faster, predict structural weaknesses, and even sense vibrations in the metal around him. Lyra watched him closely. "You're not just consuming metal," she said one day. "You're merging with it. Becoming part of it, this could change everything we know about biology and technology." Ethan smiled faintly. "I just survive. That's all I've ever done." But he felt different now. The galaxy's mockery had changed into attention. Eyes that once laughed now watched with caution and wonder. He realized that humans, long underestimated, had untapped potential. He could be the proof of it. As he explored the limits of his ability, a sudden alarm echoed through the spaceport. Lyra's monitors displayed red warnings. A Warlord-class ship had entered the system. Its hull was dark and jagged, bristling with weapons. The Council had warned Ethan about them. Their fleets were aggressive, powerful, and known for conquering systems for resources. "They came for me?" Ethan asked, fear mingling with determination. Lyra shook her head. "No, not specifically you yet. But they will be interested in anything unusual, and you are highly unusual." The Warlord's ship hovered menacingly above Dock 17. A booming voice echoed across the spaceport, distorted by the ship's communication systems. "Humans, weaklings of the galaxy, show us your power, or be crushed." Ethan's heart raced, but he stood tall. For the first time, he realized the real reason he had to understand his ability. It wasn't just survival anymore. It was protection, and maybe even leadership. The crowd scattered, many taking cover behind ships and crates. Some aliens watched, fascinated and terrified. Traders who had laughed at humans now whispered, "Could he really fight them?" Ethan stepped out of the lab, facing the enormous Warlord ship. He could feel energy pulsing through him from the metals he had consumed, each fragment making him stronger. The warmth spread like fire inside his chest, preparing him for what was coming. "Time to show them," he muttered. The Warlord's ship released drones that hovered in the air, scanning, probing, and firing warning lasers. The Council ships hesitated. They had no idea what Ethan was capable of. Ethan clenched his fists, looking at the nearest metal debris scattered across the spaceport, parts of broken drones, abandoned panels, and fragments of ships. He bent down and picked up a piece of a steel hull, feeling it hum under his touch. One bite and it was gone. The warmth and energy surged again. Another piece, another bite. Each fragment made him faster, stronger, more aware. He could feel the metal's essence integrating with his body, preparing him for the fight. The warlord's voice boomed again, impatient now. "Weak human, show your strength or die." Ethan smiled faintly, feeling more alive than ever. The galaxy had mocked humans for centuries, calling them fragile, slow, and unworthy. But here, in the face of impossible odds, Ethan felt the first spark of something greater. Humans were not weak. Humans were survivors. And sometimes survivors could do things no alien could imagine. He took a deep breath, feeling the energy in his stomach and muscles, and prepared to confront the warlord's drones. This was only the beginning. The galaxy was about to see that humans could not be ignored. And somewhere in the shadows, the dark, cloaked figure that had watched him before in the council chambers stirred again. "So, this human is stronger than expected," it whispered. "Interesting. Very interesting indeed." The fight for respect and survival was about to begin. The drones hovered above Dock 17 like metallic insects, their sensors glowing red, scanning the scattered humans and aliens alike. Ethan stood at the center, surrounded by fragments of broken ships and metal scraps. He could hear the warlord's ship looming above, its engines humming with controlled menace. The crowd had scattered to the edges of the spaceport, leaving only a few brave or foolish spectators watching from behind crates and hovering vehicles. Traders and counselors murmured among themselves, their voices filled with awe and uncertainty. The warlord's booming voice echoed across the area. "Weak human, show your strength. Consume or be crushed." Ethan's jaw tightened. He felt the warmth in his chest intensify as he glanced down at the metal debris beneath his feet. Each piece of twisted metal seemed to hum in response to him, vibrating slightly as if recognizing him. He bent down and picked up a piece of thick alloy from a destroyed drone, feeling its weight in his hands. Without hesitation, he bit into it. The metal vanished almost instantly, the energy surging through him like an electric current. He flexed his arms, feeling his muscles swell slightly, his senses sharpening. The drones paused as if uncertain, their targeting systems flickering. Ethan scanned the area quickly. Broken panels, discarded wires, a half-destroyed hovercar. He gathered what he could, consuming each piece rapidly. The warmth and strength grew with every bite, and he realized something astonishing. He could feel the metal structure, its integrity, and even its weaknesses. He could sense where it had been stressed, where it could bend or break. A sharp laugh echoed from above. The warlord's ship tilted slightly, releasing another wave of drones. They moved faster now, forming a circle around him, laser tips glowing as they prepared to attack. Ethan stood still for a moment, letting the energy course through him. Then with sudden speed he leapt forward. He grabbed a metal panel from the ground, hurled it like a shield, and deflected the nearest laser. Sparks flew, illuminating the spaceport in brief flashes. The crowd gasped. Aliens who had mocked humans earlier now whispered, He's actually strong. Incredible." The drones adjusted, launching more weapons and attempting to surround him. But Ethan had grown faster, stronger, and more aware with every scrap of metal he consumed. He moved like lightning, dodging and weaving between beams of energy, bending and snapping metal fragments to block attacks. One of the counselors gasped, "It's not just strength. He can adapt. He can think faster than the drone's targeting systems." Ethan's mind worked in a blur. He noticed a structural weakness in one of the drones. Its joint had been damaged by a stray shot. With precision, he bent a metal rod and struck the joint, causing the drone to fall apart mid-air. Another drone approached, firing rapidly. Ethan ripped up a piece of a hovercar, using it to block and absorb the laser energy. The warmth from the metal spread through his body, fueling him, sharpening him. For a moment he felt unstoppable. The metal didn't just feed his body, it fed his mind. He could see patterns, anticipate movements, and react faster than anyone or anything around him. The warlord's voice boomed again, filled with rage. "Impossible, a human. Stronger than my machines?" Ethan didn't answer. He focused on the remaining drones, moving with speed and skill that seemed impossible for a human. Another fragment of alloy from a nearby ship entered his mouth, and a surge of energy shot through him. His muscles tensed, his reflexes sharpened, and suddenly, he felt a new capability. He could manipulate small metal objects with thought. pulling them through the air like extensions of his own body. The crowd gasped again. Some aliens stumbled back, fear in their eyes. "He's controlling metal." "With his mind?" one whispered. Ethan focused on a drone that hovered above, firing indiscriminately. He stretched his arm and a shard of metal flew like a guided missile, striking the drone's core. Sparks exploded and the drone tumbled to the ground in pieces. He continued moving through the spaceport like a storm of metal and energy. Each scrap of metal he consumed made him faster, stronger, sharper. The drones, which had once seemed unstoppable, were now falling one by one, their targeting systems unable to match Ethan's speed and adaptability. Finally, only one drone remained hovering in midair, its weapons locked and glowing. Ethan's eyes narrowed. He bent down and picked up a twisted metal panel from a destroyed ship. He felt the panel's energy, its structure, and the tiny cracks that ran through it. Then, with a swift movement, he consumed the metal. The energy surged instantly, and he felt himself lift off the ground, propelled by the energy of the metal and the adrenaline coursing through him. The drone fired, but Ethan moved faster, striking it with a piece of twisted metal that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Sparks flew as the drone exploded, falling to the ground in pieces. Silence fell across the spaceport. The crowd emerged from hiding, their eyes wide. The traders who had laughed at humans before now looked at Ethan with fear and awe. Counselors whispered, He's incredible. This human could defeat fleets by himself." Ethan landed, breathing heavily, his body glowing faintly with energy from the metal he had consumed. He looked around at the wreckage, the destroyed drones, scattered metal fragments, and stunned aliens, and realized that something fundamental had changed. Humans were no longer the species to mock. They were survivors, adaptable, and now dangerous. A sudden vibration caught his attention. The warlord's ship hovered above, its weapons still bristling, but Ethan could feel a shift in its energy. The warlord was no longer laughing. It was cautious. He could sense it calculating, trying to understand how one human could defeat its drones. Ethan took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of metal energy in his body. He realized that this was more than survival now. This was proof that humans could rise beyond what anyone imagined, that strength was not always measured in numbers or technology, but in adaptability, courage, and ingenuity. The crowd slowly approached, murmuring among themselves. Aliens who had once mocked humans now stepped back, uncertain, their confidence shaken. Even some counselors looked at him with newfound respect. Lyra floated toward him, her eyes wide with amazement. "Ethan, you've surpassed anything we expected. You are extraordinary." Ethan shook his head, a small smile on his face. "I'm just human." But in that moment, he knew it was no longer just about him. Humans across the galaxy were underestimated, dismissed as weak, and now they had a symbol, a proof that strength could come from unexpected places. From the shadow of the council chambers, the cloaked figure watched again. Its voice was low, almost a whisper. "So, this is the human. Stronger than expected. Interesting, very interesting." Ethan felt a shiver but focused on the present. He knew that the warlord would not give up so easily. More challenges, more fleets, more dangers awaited. But now he also knew something else. Humans had a place in the galaxy and they could no longer be ignored. The spaceport slowly came alive again. Aliens who had watched with fear now whispered in admiration. Some approached cautiously, offering assistance or at least respect. Traders who had once mocked Ethan's small ship now gave him space, unsure if even touching him could provoke him. Ethan looked at the scattered metal fragments around him, the remnants of the drones, and the faint glow of energy in his body. He realized that the galaxy had laughed at humans for too long. But laughter had turned into disbelief, and disbelief into respect. And somewhere, deep in the cosmos, the dark, cloaked figure smiled beneath its hood. It was clear that the human was only beginning to show what he could do. The galaxy was about to learn a lesson it would not forget. Ethan turned his gaze toward the stars, feeling the energy of metal still humming inside him. He had survived the first trial, but he knew there would be more. The galaxy was vast, full of challenges and full of beings who could not yet imagine the true potential of humanity. With a determined look, he whispered to himself, "Let them watch. Let them see. Humans, we survive, and we adapt." The first real battle was over, but the story of Ethan, the human who could eat metal, was only beginning, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The battle against the Warlord's drones had ended, but Ethan knew this was only the beginning. The Warlord's ship still loomed above the spaceport, its massive engines casting shadows over the scattered debris below. Aliens whispered among themselves, uncertain whether the human before them was a miracle or a threat. Ethan's body still pulsed with energy from the metals he had consumed. He could feel the alloys integrating into him, making his muscles stronger, his reflexes sharper, his mind faster. Each scrap of metal had enhanced him, and he realized that his ability was not just for survival, it was for adaptation and strategy. Lyra hovered near him, her golden eyes wide with awe. "Ethan, what you did today? No one has ever done that before. You've defeated technology designed to crush entire fleets." Ethan shook his head, brushing the sweat from his brow. "I didn't defeat it. I just used what I had. I adapted." Outside, the Warlord's ship released a barrage of energy pulses scanning the spaceport. The alien commander's voice echoed over the loudspeakers. "Human, you are a curiosity, but curiosity is dangerous. I will destroy you if you resist further." Ethan clenched his fists. His heart beat steadily, but inside a fire burned. He realized the truth. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Now it was time to show what adaptation, courage, and ingenuity could accomplish. He scanned the debris around him. Broken drones, shattered panels, fragments of old ships, metal was everywhere. He began to consume it, one piece after another, feeling the energy surge through him. His senses sharpened. He could see the structural weaknesses in the Warlord's ship, the vibrations of its engines, even the patterns in its energy pulses. Lyra floated closer. "Ethan, you can sense it, can't you? You can feel the metal, the structure, the energy. That's unbelievable." Ethan nodded. "I can feel it. I can use it." The Warlord's ship sent another wave of drones, faster and more advanced than the previous ones. They swarmed around Ethan, lasers cutting through the air. But this time he was ready. He bent a fragment of alloy into a sharp point and hurled it. It struck a drone mid-air, sending it spinning into another. Another piece he consumed, then flung as a guided projectile, splitting a drone in half. He moved like lightning, dodging, weaving, and striking, every motion calculated, precise, and lethal. The crowd that had gathered watched in stunned silence. Aliens who had once mocked humans now whispered in fear and admiration. He's controlling metal. He's unstoppable." But Ethan was not focused on awe or fear. He was focused on survival and on proving a point. Humans had always been underestimated, and he would show the galaxy that they were more than weak, fragile creatures. He leapt onto a pile of wreckage, consuming fragments as he went, feeling the energy flow through him. He could move faster, react quicker, and strike harder than any alien could imagine. Each bite of metal enhanced him, made him stronger, and gave him a new perspective. The Warlord's ship finally descended closer, its massive engines creating turbulence that shook the spaceport. The Warlord's voice boomed, "Human! You are strong. Too strong for your size. But strength alone cannot defeat me. Surrender." Ethan shook his head, a determined fire in his eyes. "I don't surrender. I survive. And humans, we fight back." With that, he leapt toward the nearest drone, consuming a shard of reinforced titanium mid-air. The energy surged, and he struck the drone with a piece of alloy, sending it spinning into another drone. Sparks flew, lights flickered, and the remaining drones hesitated. Lyra floated beside him, recording everything. He's using the energy from the metal to enhance his body. He's predicting the drone's movements before they even happen. Ethan smiled faintly. "I can feel it. I can sense their weaknesses." The Warlord's ship fired a massive energy beam at him. Ethan reacted instantly, grabbing a panel of steel from a destroyed drone and twisting it mid-air. The beam struck the panel and ricocheted harmlessly into the space above. He consumed the panel, feeling the energy surge once again, making him faster, stronger, sharper. The crowd erupted in cheers. Aliens who had doubted humans now watched in disbelief. Some hid, unsure whether to flee or observe. Traders whispered, "Could a human actually defeat a fleet?" Ethan moved through the spaceport like a storm, consuming metal, striking drones, and using his energy to manipulate fragments of metal as weapons and shields. His body glowed faintly, pulsing with absorbed energy. The drones that had once seemed unstoppable were now falling one by one, unable to keep up with him. Finally, the last drone hovered, its weapons glowing, ready to strike. Ethan bent a piece of alloy into a long, sharp spear and hurled it with precision. The drone exploded in a shower of sparks and metal shards. Silence fell across the spaceport. Ethan stood amid the wreckage, breathing steadily, his body still glowing faintly with energy. He looked up at the warlord's ship. It hovered, massive and imposing, but Ethan could sense hesitation now. The warlord had seen the humans' power firsthand and understood that strength alone was not the only factor. Adaptability, intelligence, and courage mattered too. Lyra floated near him, her eyes wide. "Ethan, you've done the impossible. You've defeated the fleet with nothing but your skill and your ability." Ethan shook his head. "I didn't defeat them. I just used what I had. That's all humans ever do. We adapt, we survive, and sometimes we surprise the galaxy." The warlord's ship emitted a low hum, then slowly retreated, its massive engines carrying it away from the spaceport. Its voice echoed one final time. "Human, this is not over. You have potential, but remember, power attracts attention, and attention can be dangerous." Ethan watched as the ship disappeared into the distance, feeling the adrenaline slowly fade. He looked at the scattered metal fragments around him, the wrecked drones and the stunned crowd. The galaxy had laughed at humans for centuries, but now, humans had proven their worth. Aliens approached cautiously, some offering help, some simply observing. The traitors who had mocked him earlier now kept their distance, unsure whether to respect him or fear him. Lyra floated closer, her golden eyes softening. "Ethan, this is only the beginning. The galaxy will never underestimate humans again. But so, there are those who will see you as a threat. You must be careful." Ethan nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and caution. "I know. But if humans have learned anything, it's that we survive. And we adapt. That's how we win." He looked up at the stars, feeling the energy of the metal still coursing through his body. He realized that his abilities were not just for fighting drones. They were a symbol of human ingenuity, courage, and resilience. Somewhere in the distance, the cloaked figure that had watched him before stirred again. Its eyes gleamed beneath the hood. "So, this human is more than a curiosity. He is a force. Interesting. Very interesting indeed." Ethan felt a shiver but focused on the present. He had survived the trial, shown the galaxy his strength, and proven that humans could not be ignored. But he knew this was only the beginning. Greater challenges awaited, and the galaxy would soon learn the full extent of what humans were capable of. As the spaceport slowly returned to normal, Ethan gathered fragments of metal from the wreckage, consuming some, saving others. He felt the energy flowing through him, strengthening him, preparing him for whatever came next. For the first time, he smiled fully. Humans had been mocked, dismissed, and underestimated, but now the galaxy was watching, and it would never look at humans the same way again. Ethan whispered to himself, looking at the stars. Let them watch. Let them see. Humans survive. Humans adapt. And sometimes, humans can do the impossible. The first real battle had ended. The warlord's fleet had been repelled. But the story of Ethan, the human who could eat metal, was only growing. And the galaxy would soon see that humans were not just survivors. They were a force to be reckoned with. The warlord's fleet had retreated, but the galaxy was far from quiet. Across star systems, news spread quickly. A human had not only survived a warlord's assault, but had defeated an entire wave of drones using nothing but his body and the metals around him. Ethan stood atop a pile of debris in Dock 17, surveying the wreckage of the drones and the scattered metal scraps. The warmth of absorbed metal still pulsed through his veins, giving him a sense of calm power. He could feel every piece of metal around him, every vibration in the spaceport, as if he had become part of it all. Lyra floated beside him, her golden eyes reflecting the fading light of the warlord's departing ship. Ethan, what you did today, it's beyond what we ever imagined. You've shown the galaxy that humans are not weak, that humans are capable of anything. Ethan shook his head, smiling faintly. I'm just human. I survive. I adapt, that's all. But he knew the truth. What he had done was more than survival. It was proof that humans were more than the galaxy had believed. Adaptable, resilient, inventive, and unyielding. For centuries, aliens had mocked humans as fragile, unremarkable, and weak. Today, one human had rewritten that narrative. The spaceport slowly began to return to its usual rhythm. Aliens who had watched from behind crates now emerged, speaking in hushed tones. Traders, engineers, and even counselors approached cautiously, some offering assistance, others simply observing. But all eyes were on him. A small group of children, human and alien alike, crept closer, eyes wide with fascination. One human child whispered, He's amazing. Can humans really do that? Ethan knelt down slightly, smiling at them. Humans can do a lot more than you think, he said softly. We survive. And sometimes, we surprise everyone. Lyra floated near him, watching the interaction with quiet admiration. Ethan, there is something more. I've analyzed the metals you've consumed and the way your body metabolizes them. You're not just strong. You can enhance your body and mind in ways that no one has ever seen. You can adapt faster than any species alive. Ethan considered her words. So, what you're saying is humans could become more? Lyra nodded. Yes. With your abilities, humans could survive the most extreme conditions, repair ships instantly, even counter technologies that would destroy others. You are a symbol of human potential. The sound of engines interrupted their conversation. Ethan turned to see the Council's fleet descending into the spaceport. They were massive, sleek ships, their surfaces gleaming and weapons dormant for now. The counselors had decided to see Ethan's abilities firsthand. A voice echoed from the largest ship. Human Ethan, step forward. The galaxy must witness your capability, for the sake of understanding and preparation. Ethan nodded and walked toward the landing zone. The counselors watched, observing his movements carefully. The hum of metal beneath his feet and the faint glow from absorbed alloys made him appear almost otherworldly. A counselor with multiple eyes stepped forward. Ethan, your actions today have demonstrated more than strength. You have shown adaptability, creativity, and courage. You have survived and thrived where others would fail. For that, we offer recognition and respect. Ethan tilted his head. I don't want rewards. I want to survive, and I want humans to be seen for who we really are. The counselor nodded. Then you shall have it. Today, the galaxy will begin to see humans not as weaklings, but as a species of potential ingenuity and resilience. And you, Ethan, will be the first symbol of this change. The crowd erupted in murmurs of surprise and awe. Aliens whispered to each other, fear and respect mingling in their voices. Traders who had mocked humans now looked uncertain, unsure whether to laugh or bow. From the shadows of the docking bay, the dark, cloaked figure appeared again. Its eyes glowed faintly beneath the hood. Interesting, it whispered. The human has grown stronger, faster than anticipated. A true anomaly. The galaxy's view of his species must change, or suffer consequences. Ethan didn't notice the figure. He was focused on the moment, on what he had accomplished, and on the truth he now carried. Humans were underestimated no longer. Lyra approached, her eyes bright. Ethan, there's more. I've been analyzing your capabilities in real time. You can absorb metal, manipulate it, enhance your strength and senses, even repair complex systems instinctively. This is beyond any natural ability we've recorded. Humans, you are more than we imagined. Ethan looked down at his hands, still faintly glowing from the absorbed metals. I've always survived. I've always adapted. That's all humans do, maybe. Maybe that's why we're stronger than anyone expects. We don't give up. We find a way. A ripple of whispers spread across the crowd. Some aliens, inspired, spoke quietly to each other. If one human can do this, what could an entire human fleet accomplish? What could humanity achieve if unleashed? Ethan felt a sense of purpose growing inside him. His abilities were not just for survival or fighting drones. They were proof of human potential, a spark that could change the galaxy's perception forever. The warlord's voice boomed over the intercom from a distant system. Human, you have survived today, but remember, the galaxy is vast. There are many who will not respect your kind. Power attracts attention, and attention can be dangerous. Ethan straightened, looking toward the stars. Then let them watch. Let them see. Humans survive. Humans adapt. And humans, we rise when no one expects it. The counselors, the spectators, and even the wary traders fell silent, watching the human who had changed the galaxy's perception in a single day. For centuries, humans had been mocked, dismissed, and underestimated. Now, one human had shown the galaxy that survival was only the beginning, and adaptation, courage, and ingenuity were the true measures of strength. Ethan turned back to Lyra. I don't know what comes next. The warlord will return. Others will challenge me, but We humans have something they don't. We never stop, we never give up, and we always adapt. Lyra nodded, a smile on her face. Then the galaxy will learn, Ethan. Humanity's true strength will be revealed, and it will be undeniable. From above, the stars shimmered brightly, reflecting off the metal scraps scattered across Dock 17. Ethan could feel the energy pulsing through him, the remnants of the metals he had absorbed, and the warmth of survival that had carried him through countless challenges. The cloaked figure watched from the shadows one final time, its presence a reminder that the galaxy had only begun to notice humanity. This human is more than an anomaly. He is a force. The galaxy has underestimated him. Until now. Ethan looked at the stars, feeling the energy and strength within him. He realized that the true battle was not just for survival, but for recognition. The galaxy had mocked humans for centuries, and now he had changed everything. With a final glance at the wreckage, the crowd, and the distant stars, Ethan whispered to himself, "The galaxy mocked us, until they saw what one human could do. But this is only the beginning. Humans, we adapt, and we rise." The spaceport erupted in quiet awe. Aliens no longer whispered mockery, they whispered respect. Humans had proven their potential, and one human had shown the galaxy that survival, ingenuity, and courage could defy every expectation. Ethan turned toward the stars once more, ready for whatever challenge came next. The galaxy had seen what humans were capable of, and it would never forget it. For the first time in history, humans were no longer underestimated. They were a force to be reckoned with, and Ethan, the human who could eat metal, had become the symbol of that change.